It took me 12 years of double shifts, night calls, and paperwork to finally afford something I'd always wanted, a backyard jacuzzi. Not a flashy one, just a clean, modern tub tucked under my porch pergola. I wanted peace. I should have known peace doesn't last long under the HOA's nose. Before we dive in, comment which country you're watching from. Let's see how far this story travels. The morning after installation, a man I'd never seen before showed up wearing a black vest that said HOA cop. He had a shiny badge, a radio clipped to his shoulder, and mirrored sunglasses that looked straight out of a police catalog. Name's Cliff, HOA compliance officer, he said flatly, flashing the badge like I was under arrest. You didn't get a permit for that tub. I blinked. That's funny because I did. County approved it, inspector signed off. Want to see the papers? He crossed his arms. I don't deal with county law. HOA rules override when you're in this community. That's when I realized something was off. HOA rules never override county or state laws. I'd been a police officer for 12 years. I knew the legal limits of private associations. Still, I kept it polite. Well, Cliff, I'll keep my paperwork handy. Anything else? He handed me a yellow slip that read, HOA violation, unauthorized water structure, fine, $500, payable to HOA Enforcement Division. The problem? There isn't any HOA Enforcement Division. I called the HOA's actual vice president, a woman named Dana. That's Cliff, she said. He's doing the right thing. We've had too many homeowners abusing water usage. He's just keeping order. Keeping order? I repeated. He's issuing fake fines with a fake badge. Dana sighed. Don't make this difficult. Just follow instructions. Over the next few days, Cliff parked his white truck with HOA spray painted in black letters right across my driveway. He watched my house like I was a criminal. Then came the threats. Letters taped to my door, warning that failure to comply will result in escalation. But what really set me off was what happened Saturday afternoon. I just stepped into my yard when I saw headlights barreling down the slope behind my yard. Cliff's truck, engine revving hard. He didn't stop. He crashed straight through my fence into the jacuzzi, metal and glass flying everywhere. He came out of the truck coughing, holding his ribs like he didn't just crashed on my jacuzzi on purpose. Dana rushing from her home, then stood beside him saying, it was a brake failure, an accident. But something in Cliff's smug grin told me otherwise. And I wasn't just any homeowner, I was off duty, still carrying my badge and body cam. My yard looked like a war zone. My fence was splintered, the jacuzzi was cracked in half, and Cliff's white HOA truck was half submerged in what was left of my bubbling oasis. The man had the nerve to stand there, arms crossed, while Dana from the HOA kept repeating, it was just an accident, a mechanical issue. Mechanical issue? I said. He drove 50 feet downhill through a fence and into my yard. That's not a malfunction. That's intent. Cliff smirked. You'll be paying for the property damage, pal. My truck's totaled. That's when I flashed my own badge. Detective Nolan Hayes, City Police Department. You might want to think very carefully about your next statement. His smirk faltered just slightly, but Dana stepped forward, clutching a clipboard like it was a shield. You're abusing authority now. This is an internal HOA matter. No, Dana, I said calmly. This is a criminal matter. I called dispatch. Within minutes, 2 marked cruisers arrived. Officers took photos, measurements, and skid mark readings. Meanwhile, I reviewed the footage from my body cam and home security cameras. When Cliff saw the red light blinking on my chest cam, his confidence cracked. Turn that off, he barked. No, I said flatly. You're impersonating a peace officer, Cliff. That vest, that badge, and those fake fines are all evidence. California Penal Code 538D makes it a felony to impersonate an officer, and 594 covers the vandalism you caused tonight. Dana's face went pale. Wait, felony? 3 years in state prison felony, I replied. An officer called out, Detective, you'll want to see this. He held up a small GoPro from Cliff's truck dashboard, still recording. When we played it back, the truth spilled out in HD clarity. Cliff had been talking to someone over the radio before crashing. Yeah, I'll teach him a lesson, he said. Maybe when his precious tub's in pieces, he'll respect HOA authority. That one line killed every defense he had. Cliff was cuffed on the spot, protesting, You can't arrest me. I work for the HOA. The patrol officer shook his head. Buddy, you work for your own ego. Dana tried to plead his case, muttering that he meant well and that sometimes homeowners need discipline. But when I showed her the fake violation slips with her signature forged at the bottom, she realized she'd been used to. The district attorney's office was called in before noon. Charges included criminal impersonation, reckless endangerment, destruction of property, and trespassing. As they hauled Cliff away, he shouted over his shoulder, You think this is over, cop? I just smiled. It's over the moment you hit record. If you're enjoying this HOA story so far, like and subscribe, because the story is only going to get better. By the end of the week, the truth about Cliff exploded across the entire subdivision. Turns out he wasn't just a rogue HOA cop. He'd built a whole fake enforcement scheme behind the scenes. He'd printed counterfeit violation slips, collected cash fines through a personal Venmo account, and even ordered custom patches online that said HOA Enforcement Division. The sheriff's department called it one of the strangest impersonation cases in recent memory. Dana, the vice president who defended him, tried to play the victim at first. He told me the board approved it, she stammered during the hearing. But emails recovered from her computer showed she'd authorized several special enforcement patrols with no actual board vote. That sealed her fate. The HOA president resigned under public pressure, and the county issued a cease and desist to the entire association until a legal audit could be completed. Meanwhile, I filed both a civil and criminal complaint. Under California Civil Code 1708, homeowners are protected against intentional damage to private property. Between the broken fence, cracked jacuzzi, and landscaping costs, damages topped $12,000. Cliff's insurance refused to cover it because, as they said, the act was deliberate. The day of his arraignment, I stood in the back of the courtroom. Cliff shuffled in wearing county orange, wrists chained. He looked smaller without his fake badge and power trip. When the prosecutor read the charges, felony impersonation, criminal trespass, reckless endangerment, his lawyer whispered something, but Cliff just stared straight ahead. Dana wasn't in much better shape. Though she avoided criminal charges, the HOA voted unanimously to remove her. The same neighbors who used to fear her were now shouting, "Resign," at the meeting. She left in tears, clutching her folder like it could somehow fix her reputation. A few weeks later, I finally repaired the jacuzzi. This time, I fenced it off with reinforced barriers and motion cameras. The contractor laughed and said, "You expecting another HOA patrol?" "Not anymore," I said, smirking. "They've all been officially disbanded." When the final court decision came down, Cliff was sentenced to 6 years in state prison and ordered to pay full restitution. His white truck was repossessed, his HOA cop vest confiscated as evidence, and his reputation destroyed. And that's how the so-called HOA cop lost everything: his gun, his job, and his freedom. Cliff thought he could play cop, but the law doesn't bend for ego. His fake authority, his truck, his pride, all gone. The court made it official. 6 years behind bars and $12,000 in restitution. Justice doesn't need a badge, it just needs proof. And I had all the proof I'd ever need. As for me, I moved on. The fence was rebuilt, the yard restored, and the neighborhood finally quiet. Cliff's 6-year sentence and $12,000 restitution barely scratched what he'd cost me. But seeing him led away was enough. I don't need revenge, just order. And now every time I soak in that new jacuzzi, I remember. Real authority doesn't need to shout. What do you think, folks? Did the HOA cop go too far, or did he get exactly what was coming to him? What would you have done if it happened to you? I'd really like to know. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends, because HOA drama hits closer to home than most people think. Got your own crazy HOA experience? Leave it in the comments below. I read them all. And remember, keep your paperwork, know your rights, and never let anyone tell you community rules outweigh the law. The end.